Hello everyone, it's Natasha from Treasure Books. You know, every now and then, I think you might like to see something from me. Nice and easy. You might recognize these famous words from the one and only Tina Turner, but while this may not be Proud Mary, it is indeed nice and easy. Today we are making DIY tea bag shaped books, embellishment folders and actual tea bag holders. Whatever you want to call it and whichever way you want to use it, it's all the same. Very simple fold, nice and easy. Want to see? Let me show you. Left a good job down in the city. For this project, you will need a square piece of paper, and depending on the size of these tea bag books that you want to make, you can choose a 12 by 12 sheet or an 8 by 8 sheet or 6 by 6 sheet or even 4 by 4 sheet. Totally up to you. It all depends on how big or small you want to go. I'm going to make all of these, so I think we should start with the 12 by 12 because why not? And you know, the best part about this is that you can use single-sided scrapbook paper and it can be flimsy scrapbook paper. So in fact, it's preferable to have a lighter weight scrapbook paper rather than something heavier like this. And I know it's hard to tell from the video paperweight, but I'm sure you know what I mean. All right, so before we begin, I just want to show you my prototype so you can see exactly where we're going with this. This is when I was trying to work out how I'm going to do this. I mean, you can just stop watching now because now you know how it's done, but don't, because there's still lots of fun to be had. All right, we're starting with 12 by 12 sheet of paper and we're going to fold it diagonally. All right. But you want to really make sure that you are folding like everything meets perfectly. So we want to meet these 2 points perfectly. And don't worry, if you can't get it perfect, I'm going to tell you what to do if that happens. And in fact, it looks like it's happened to me. So if it's a minor discrepancy like this, I usually just leave it, to be honest, but if you want, you can go ahead and trim that off. And I'm only trimming it for demonstration purposes, I suppose. But honestly, you can just leave it. And if you do one side, then when you turn it around, you'll see a discrepancy on the other side. So you have to do the other side as well. Bye, Banjo. It's okay, you can go. You can go and have your little nap. All right, so now what we have, these points are meeting perfectly. And look at this. Absolute perfection over here and over here. It's not necessary to strive for that absolute perfection, but the closest that you can get it, the better the end project. All right, at this stage, we're working with 12 by 12 paper, right? So now we fold it diagonally, and now I'm going to measure 6 inches in from the ends, both ends. Okay. This is where you're kind of deciding how wide you want your project to be. And if you measure 6 inches from each end, this is kind of what you're left with. You're left with about 5 inches. Okay. If you might want to have a really narrow book, or you want to have a wider book, totally up to you. So this is where you decide. I just chose 6 inches just because, I don't know, I kind of put my ruler here and I was like, where do I want to fold? So 6 inches it is, and I'm measuring from this edge of the paper to over here, marking myself a line. You can mark that totally. You don't have to worry that it's going to show because it's all going to be hidden. So 6 inches from both of the points, very easy. And then all you have to do is this. You hold it in place, just that point, with your finger, with your nail, with a tool. You can do this. If you don't have nails, just hold it in place there and make a fold, all right? And I'm not sure how well you can see here, but I want this fold and this fold to align perfectly, all right? So I'm simply going to align them, and then I'm going to press this down. Nice straight fold. And we can give it a little bit of a burnish. Open up and do the same for the other side. Hold it in place, just do this, all right? And line it up with the fold, line the folds up. And while holding that point in place, you want to fold this down. Isn't that, I mean, you're pretty much nearly done, okay? All right, so now we need to get rid of this little bit of excess over here. And I like to just cut the whole thing off, even though you can just fold it down like this and it's gone. But the less bulk you have inside, the better your project is going to close. All right, so I just kind of get rid of it like that. Okay, and now we have this kind of a business going on. You see, we're getting there. And we have this sticking out. And again, I like to get rid of this, even though you can glue it to the back. But again, bulk, you know, we want to have the least amount of bulk as possible. So I'm going to draw myself a line over here. Isn't that simple and easy peasy? I told you it's going to be easy, and it doesn't get any easier than this. You see what's going on here? I'm sure you've already made stuff like this before. Maybe I have too, who knows? I probably made these in the past and completely forgot about them. And now I'm like, oh, let's make a tutorial. I actually really like this idea. We can call them tea bag books, or we can call them tag books, you know, because now all we're going to do is make this into a shape of a tea bag, like an extra large tea bag or a tag. Yes? All right, I like that fold to be perfectly perpendicular, if that's the right word, parallel to this. So I don't want any like skewed folds. So, okay, I'm really showing this leaning towards perfectionism in this video, but I feel like with this kind of stuff, I like to be, you know, I like to have nice, perfect edges and stuff. Okay, this is where you decide, where do you want to cut this thing? Do you want to like cut it all the way here? This is more looking like a tea bag. I find if I look at an actual tea bag, the shoulders, you see that? Like this, the length from here to here isn't very long. So we don't want to like do this. I don't know. I don't. Totally up to you what you want to do with your project. This is where you choose. All right, this is where I'm going to cut. Not cut. Don't cut. We don't want to cut. We want to fold. So I'm holding my ruler in place and kind of marking. You can use your hand. You can use whatever you have on hand. And then fold down. And then we want to score. And then we want to fold here. So don't cut, because this acts as reinforcement. We want this to be reinforced. All right, this is what's going on now. Now, let me just tell you, if you're using really good quality, thick cardstock, the kind that we love, you will find at this point that you have like bulk here, and you might find things getting scrunched, which is why it's better to use lighter weight paper. So let me just show you what I mean. This is the first one that I made, and actually I see this here, the paper doily, it's there to hide. It's there for no other reason but to hide the bulk. And what I'm talking about is this. You can see it perfectly in my prototype. I'm not sure how well you can see actually, but you see this scrunching up business here. And then when you want to close it, and especially when you have stuff in there, then you get like, it doesn't close properly, and it's just not ideal because the paper is so thick. Because remember, we're stacking 1, 2, 3 sheets of paper, then we're folding the 3 sheets of paper together. Of course, there's going to be bulk there. Let's move on. I will try and refrain from talking about all the details. All right, at this stage, depending on your paper that you're using, I think inking the edges is always simply a must, because like, look, inked edges, and then when you open it, you can see these beautiful inked edges. And this is where you want to ink the edges before anything is glued down or folded away. You want to ink your outside edge all the way around. Okay, the outside edge is inked all around, and now we can refold, and now you can ink the shoulders from the inside. That's the only visible part. So this is where it's pretty cool to use up your like one-sided scrapbook papers, because this is all you can see, and I think it looks pretty cool using this contrast kind of white and then something better than, you know, pattern paper. All right. Once everything is folded back, now we can start inking the outside. You know what I'm thinking? I'm thinking make note of this for Christmas time, because at Christmas time, this will be like really cool little gift idea where you make a bunch of these, even like for craft fairs and stuff, and then you can fill this up with like hot chocolate pouches or coffee, or, you know, candy canes. Oh, the ideas. All right, so now that's all inked. At this stage, I'm gonna go ahead and glue these bits down, just using good old glue stick, because it will do the job. Glue it down, and glue down well. Burnish, burnish. Other side. And now we are going to glue this shut, and you're simply going to apply glue, tiny little bit of glue on this, so the straight edge is the visible edge. I'm going to turn it this way so it's easier. And you're only going to apply glue, just a little bit, on the seam here and over here, and that's all. That is all the glue you need. This way, it's glued shut, it's not going to open, but there's still some movement, you know, there's still some movement, because this is going to open and close. You're going to put stuff in, you're going to bind pages or whatever, you know. And also, oh, I forgot to ink the inside edges over here. I just got to do that. Now, what I like to do, this here is like a hinge. It's a little hinge that opens and closes. And when you glue it, it restricts that movement, right? So what I like to do is apply the glue like I just did, and then close it and just leave it in that position for however long it takes for the glue to dry. In my case, a couple of minutes, to be honest with you, because then what will happen is this will be glued in place, it can be shut, and then when it opens, it's not going to be able to open all the way, but it will be able to open enough for it to be functional. Whereas if we let it dry in a completely open position, when you try and close it, there's going to be this kind of a thing happening. When you close it, there's going to be gaping, everything will be falling out. Okay, just close it and let it dry. Let me show ya. So some people, they don't want to know all the details. Others, they do want to know all the details. I'm the others. I fall into the others group. I always want to know everything. See this finished one? Because I let it dry in the closed position, see how it's nice and snug? Excellent. But when I open it, you see what happens there? There's a little bit of gap there. We need this for this to be functional. The only thing that means is that this can't open. I mean, it almost can open fully, but not all the way fully. So I hope that makes sense. I hope I didn't confuse the hell out of you. The thing is, when someone tells me, okay, you gotta let it dry in the closed position, I need to know why. And if you're one of those people, well, I hope that I've explained why. Okay, so that's the folding business out of the way. That's all you gotta do. Okay, now I'm gonna do all the other sizes. I don't need to talk about any of the details. We can just go ahead and fold. Now I'm using 8x8 paper and folding diagonally. Make sure that all the points meet perfectly. There's a little bit of a margin. You know, the thing is, sometimes it will say 8 by 8 or 12 by 12, but then when you go to measure, it's actually slightly off. It'll be like just slightly before, not before, slightly less than 8 by 8, and then you will always have that little bit of an off-hang, right? All right, since I'm doing 8 by 8, I'm gonna mark at 4 inches here. For some reason, it's just easier for me to remember that I'm doing half. So if it's 12 by 12, I'm going to mark it 6 inches. If it's 8 by 8, I'm going to mark it 4 inches. And it's just the way that I do it. And then fold, make sure the folds meet over here. And off we go. Open, turn, fold. Cut off the excess on the side. Now, if you make this section shorter, then you won't have any overhang. You will have like your ends meeting perfectly, so you won't have to be cutting off the excess, but just experiment. It all depends on the kind of a size that you want. Chop this off. Perfect. Fold. Now this is quite heavy paper, so when I'm trying to fold, it's resisting. You see what's happening here? That's fine. We can just, as I like to say, beat it into submission, or in this case, score it into submission. And then I want to get rid of about this much, lift it up and make a little fold, and fold in, open, and ink. We want to glue this down, one side and the other side. Open and apply a little bit of glue here and here, and close. Loveliness. That's how easy it is. That's literally how easy it is. Next, we're gonna do 6 by 6. I was gonna mark it 3 inches, but now I'm gonna do 2.5 inches on this 6 by 6 and see what happens. And this is what happens. See how that doesn't go all the way here, or it doesn't overhang? You know, it still works. It's just a little bit of a wider kind of a thing. I'm not a big fan of this size. I don't like how wide it is. So just because I want to stay cohesive throughout, I'm gonna do another 6 by 6 and I'm gonna mark at 3 inches, half of 6. And it's easier to remember. If you're doing 12 by 12, you do 6 inches. If you're doing 8 by 8, you do 4 inches. And in this case, 6 by 6, we're doing 3 inches. So when you know what you're doing, it takes 1 minute. Now we're gonna do a tiny little one. I haven't done this size before. This is like 4 by 4. Let's see if they're lying to us. One side is slightly less than 4 by 4, and the other side is actually, you see what I mean? When you have a square that's not perfect, so you can see here, it ends exactly at this line, 3 7/8, I think that is. And then the other side is slightly larger. So then when you actually do your diagonal fold, no matter how meticulous you're being to meet the ends, if it's not a perfect square, you are gonna have this. I don't think it actually matters that much. I'm not even gonna trim it away. We're gonna soon find out if it matters. And I'm gonna mark myself 2 inches and 2 inches, and straight away I can see how wide it's gonna be. It's not bad. This is probably more like the actual tea bag. If we're making like an actual, look at that, slightly smaller than an actual tea bag. Pretty cool. I might make a whole bunch of these. This might be my new favorite thing. So what I'm seeing over here, because it wasn't a perfect square, I don't know if you can see this, but this side is longer than this side. So now when I fold it, it doesn't matter. They meet perfectly. And here we go, a little one done and dusted. So here are all the sizes. Pretty cute. Oh my goodness, I should glue them all together. Well, this would be a cool journal topper. Anyway, perhaps that's an idea that we can explore further in another video. 12 by 12, 8 by 8, 6 by 6, 4 by 4. Excellent. Okay, now that that's all done, we shall continue with the next step. And the next step, of course, is creating this closure and this little tea bag. I don't know what it's called. First of all, before I do any of this stuff, I like to plop something on top here. It depends. If you're using a really beautiful scrapbook paper, perhaps you don't need a top piece. You can see here I use the postcard. Here, this is from packaging. And this is another beautiful scrapbook paper. And this is just a little thing, I don't know what, something. And for this one, by the way, I forgot to mention, you can totally use vellum. If you have beautiful vellum like this, you can use that to make this. So here I have an example of vellum that I used, and it's a little booklet that I made, but look how cute. Just vellum paper. All right, for this one, I want to use, this is also from packaging. Like, look at this, from something, I can't remember what it was, but they're beautiful pieces and they're like almost perfect size. Not quite, but nearly. So I can see that I need to trim it down. I'm just going to trim it down to size. So first, checking where I need to trim away. That's good. And now here I'm going to mark where I need to cut. I can use this offcut, yeah, as my template on the other side, so that way I have perfectly symmetrical a little tag shape, or tea bag shape in this case. Lovely. Let's see. Perfect. I'm quite happy with that. Now I'm just gonna, just for fun, take it to my sewing machine. It's not necessary, it's gonna look nice. I mean, I didn't do it on all of them. I didn't do it on this one either. I did it on this one. You can see a bit of stitching, and I also did it on this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and stitch around this one. Well, perhaps that was a little bit of a futile event, the stitching around, because you can barely see it because I have white thread on top and brown on bottom. Probably should have changed that white to brown so you can see it better, but still, I think you can still see it. Okay, now, I mean, this is your time to get creative here. You can do so many things here. You can add laces, and you don't even have to cover the whole thing. You can do something like, let me see, what have I got here on my desk? This isn't going to work. I'm just pulling random stuff. Like, you can, you know, do a bit of a collage, bit of this and that. I'm just pulling things that are on my desk. I don't know. And then when you have your little string, this can be like a tuck spot perhaps for it. Okay, there's an idea. Perhaps not a great idea, but not a bad idea either. Okay, now I'm going to glue this on, but I just want to give you another idea. Most of my little things are just kind of hanging there. They don't have a home. They can be kind of tucked inside. I mean, what's the point? You want to be able to see it. You can have a little something here to tuck it into, like a little bit of lace. You can have like a little tuck spot for it. That doesn't look too bad, actually. I don't mind that look at all. Or you can do something like this, which is what I'm going to do over here. You can create a little tuck spot just there. I love how that looks. I don't know. I really like that it has a little home if it wants to go into the home. Otherwise, it can just stay free range. All right. So since I want to create a little home for my little thing on this side, I'm just going to draw myself this much space, and I'm not going to apply any glue here, but I'm going to apply glue everywhere else. Pretty simple, right? We're cruising over here. Okay, so I'm going in with the glue stick first. You can skip the glue stick and just go to the glue. Glue stick alone, I mean, I suppose all glue sticks are different, so you might have one that's actually going to hold long term, but I'll just stick with the glue. Make sure you get all the edges. Okay, it's all covered in glue apart from this little tuck spot. And now decide what's going to be your front. I like my pocket to be slanted this way to the right rather than this way. I don't think it makes much difference, but I just like it this way. So I'm going to glue this on here. Now this has added some weight onto my project, so it's sitting completely flat. None of this business. Yeah? Look at it. It's just sitting completely flat. You can leave this under some heavy books overnight to flatten it out. But you see, when you add a heavy kind of a cardstock on top, it's just nice and flat. Okay, next we want to have something here for the closure, but I don't really like this. I really like the look of using book pages, or at least you want these two pieces to be kind of coming from the same cardstock. You want it to be nice and sturdy. Okay, we want sturdy. We don't want flimsy. So what I do is I grab two book pages and I'm gonna glue them together. Now, even book pages, I mean, you can see this one has some weight. This one, Stephen King's The Stand, look how fragile that is. If you're gonna use really thin, very, very fragile book page, you might need to, like, you know, do 4. Even this isn't thick enough. So, book pages, glue them together. And then take those two book pages that you've glued together, fold them in half, and then glue them together. I might even go with this glue, just to make sure. So essentially I have 4 book pages. You can use cardboard. I mean, look at this, nice and thick. Ideally you want to wait for this to dry, but I don't have time for that. Not today, anyway. All right, I'm gonna punch myself a circle. And I really should let this dry. I probably should have done this beforehand, but I didn't. Okay, there's my one piece. And now for this thing, up to you how big you want it and what shape you want it. I mean, the actual tea bag shape, they're all kind of different, but this one looks kind of like this. It's kind of like a square with some corners cut off. I don't know. You do you. I did the same shape as my overall thing here. So that's what I'm going to do over here. This one I'm going to leave for my circles. I'm going to let it dry. And now I'm going to grab another 2 book pages, glue stick, and glue. Look, I'm probably overdoing it here, but I just want to make sure that everything stays put. Okay, glue them together. Now I'm going to fold it in half. We're not going to glue it again yet. I'm going to fold it in half, or it doesn't have to be in half, but really I'm just looking for a space where there's lots of writing. I don't want any of this empty spaces between sentences, because I want this to look like just words. And now I'm going to cut off the white bit. Now I'm going to decide how wide do I want this, you know, how big do I want it. I'm just going to use this as a template, but it's about 1.5 inches, just a little bit less than 1.5 inches if you want to be, you know, if you want to have the same size. And cut. If you're doing like a production line kind of thing, you're making a few at a time, you can just go to the next one and cut. I might do it. I might use the width of my ruler, because for the bigger ones you want bigger, for the smaller ones you want smaller, right? Anyway, I'm gonna leave that to the side. We're just doing one thing at a time. Okay, here it is. This is what we have, yeah? And now we want to cut the height. I'm just gonna use this as my template, but in case you wanna know, it's a little bit more than 1.5 inches, the total height. Perfect. And now we're gonna cut little shoulders, just eyeballing it. I might use this as a little template over here. It's a bit tough when the things are tiny, but as long as it's somewhat symmetrical, you know, I mean, it's not rocket science. And then we're gonna ink away. Okay. Here's what we have. 2 book pages glued together. Eventually this is going to be glued together with the string in between, so it's actually 4 book pages thick, so it's sturdy. Okay, we have this and we have this. And now you grab your thing and you find where you're going to want to put this, and you grab a brad. If you don't have a brad, you can sew a button. You can put a button on top. Frantically searching for a button on my desk. Here we go. You put a button on top and then you can sew that on right through to the other side, like sew the whole thing on. I'm going to use a brad. I've got this one. I think it goes pretty well. You can get creative here and have a few layers, few different size circles. Like you can see this one I only have the brad and the one circle. Here I have another circle, so 2 circles. Here I have another one. Here I have scrapbook paper and a little circle. You know, you can get creative with what you want to do here. I'm keeping it really simple. Just gonna use a brad and a circle. And this is what you do next. You grab your poke tool. You don't want a really thick hole. You don't want to make a thick hole. You'll soon find out why. So like for example, I have this awl and you can see how thick it is. Way too big. You can even use a needle if you don't have something thin. Have something smooshy underneath to protect your desk and keep this closed, okay? Because we're going to be punching through all the way through to the other side. All right, so place that in the middle somewhere and eyeball the very middle and punch through all the layers. So you're going to the other side all the way through. Don't make that hole very big. Now you want to open and get your brad and pop it through only the top layer. We're not touching this. Yes, it looks something like this. Close the prongs. If you've sewn a button on, you will have your string knot on this side. All right, that's done. Now we're going to add the thread right over here. I am going to use this crochet thread. It's not too thick. It's not like twine, but it's not too thin like sewing thread, for example. So you want something that's not going to snap very easily, but it's also not too thick. Thread through the needle. Easier said than done. Oh, actually that went through. First go. And then cut yourself. Don't cut yourself. Cut yourself a length of thread. Don't cut yourself. Cut the thread. On the other side of the needle, make a knot. Now this knot has to be bigger than this hole. This is why we don't want a large hole. So the way that you can do that is you keep making a knot over a knot. Usually I go around twice. So a knot on top of a knot, just like this. Nice big chunky knot. I think that's quite enough. We don't need to keep knotting. Okay, now we shall grab this. Oh, isn't this just lovely? Isn't it easy? And now we're gonna go through. You see that knot? If I pull really hard, that's gonna come right through. So I don't wanna pull really hard until I'm finished with it. So now we're over here on the other side. We're gonna go over the top through the hole again. And tighten. And again. Through the hole and tighten. Bring them together. And we're gonna do it one more time, because why not? We like to be extra. And tighten. We have 3. And now we're gonna go under all the threads and go through the loop. So we are making a knot on top of all the threads. And you know what? We're gonna do that again, because I just wanna make sure. Oh, lovely. Now, remove your needle. Put it where it belongs. Don't just chuck it on your desk and then you go looking for it later. You can't find anything. I'm putting it away. And here's what we have so far. Okay? Thread, that, closure. All right. Now, look how long this is. If we apply this down here, it's way too long. Doesn't matter. It's up to you. How long do you want it? It has a home, remember? So it really doesn't matter how long the thread is. Usually, I like to have my thing like go all the way down to the bottom. The very first one that I made, it was a bit short and I kind of didn't like it. I wanted it to be longer. And in fact, if we're getting inspiration from the tea bag, look at how long the string is. But that's because this is going into a mug and then you're making tea and this has to hang outside. This isn't going in any mug. So we don't have to worry about that. All right, let's keep it nice and easy. I'm gonna wrap around here just so I can, gauge how long my thread needs to be. And I'm gonna chop. Come on, scissors. Oh my goodness. I'm gonna chop right there. All right, the thread is as long as my project. And now the final step. Well, it's not the final, well, it is the final. We still have to do the inside. You grab your little thing. Now you go ahead and you saturate it on the inside in glue stick, and then you saturate it in glue. The reason why I use glue stick is because it's nice and flat and it gets the whole surface covered in. So if I miss spots with this, which I will because I kind of go like this, and then you have like spots that have glue and spots that don't have glue, at least I know that I have my glue stick, right? Holding everything together. But you want to make sure that there's a lot of glue there. Not like, don't go crazy because you don't want it seeping to the sides. All right. Glue saturation complete. And now I like to protect my little thing. We have the string, which goes all the way to the bottom of this piece. And then this, we want it in the middle. I'm happy with that. And close. There's bound to be some glue seeping out or glue stick or whatever. So I'm protecting. That's why I have the book page underneath. And then you just look at this. Ooh. You want to really see the top. You want it, that's looking pretty good. Nice and shut. Make sure. Well, look at that. Isn't it just sweet? And it has a little home. And then you can do like something here, embellish. You can put a little flower sticker or a little butterfly or a little teacup or whatever. Teacup. Not a bad idea. But I shall leave it as it is because now, I mean, this is it. The project is complete. Now all we have is the inside, and we can do so many different things on the inside. So for this big one, I'm going to make this into a booklet. Oh, but wait. Ugly and not that ugly. I don't mind this side. Perhaps I'll just make this a little bit shorter. But the prongs over here, the little brad feet, I like to cover that. So again, you can grab another circle, pop it down. Or a little heart sticker or butterfly, whatever you want to do. And just hide the ugliness. Not bad. And, I actually don't mind this, like I said, so I'm just going to leave that. Or potentially we can cover that as well, of course. Before I start making the booklet, I just want to show you and point out we have a tuck spot here and a bigger pocket here, and then of course the same on the other side. So at this point you can decide, like, you can have this as a page in your journal, right? You could do that like in the middle of the signature. That'll be fun. You can go ahead and embellish. You can add lace. Look at this. Just make it really pretty. Lace there, lace on the other side. I'm going to use a sticker. I've been obsessed lately with these gold stickers. So that's what I'm going to do. But you can do whatever your heart desires. And once I'm obviously going to finish this whole thing. And once I'm finished with it, oh no, that's not where we want it. This is where we want it. Once I'm finished with this, I'm going to show you all the other ones that I've made. So you can see kind of where you can take this from here. Okay, one side done and the other side done. We can do something in the corner and something in this corner. Oh, perfect. It's like a wine bottle with wine glass. I don't know, I think it's wedding, to be honest. I think it's like wedding stationery, but wedding stickers or something. Anyway, I found them secondhand. So, oh, glorious. All right, we shall come back to the pockets later. I just want to show you, if you're making this into a booklet, this is quite a long piece. This is longer than 12 by 12 because it was folded diagonally. I need to get my big ruler out. This is just over 14 inches, okay? So you need really large pages, because if you use an A4 size, just standard printer copy paper size, it's too short, right? It doesn't matter which way. Of course it's too short this way. You're gonna fold it in half, and then when it's bound, it stops here. Now, that maybe you might not mind that, but if you want it to go all the way up and be kind of have, this kind of a thing going all the way to the top. Even this is too short because I didn't have any larger paper. In that case, of course, you need large paper. So what I'm using is, I don't know where this is from, but it's bigger than standard size. And this is kids' scrapbook papers. So that, you know, they'll come in large. They are large sheets. That's just what I like. All right, I'm gonna have 6 pages in there. Another thing that you can do, potentially, it is something that I considered, but then I just didn't end up doing it, is, well, first of all, I'm gonna fold this in half. You can score yourself 2 lines here, and you can make yourself a spine. And that way you can have a much thicker booklet in there. You can even have 2 or 3 little signatures. But because I'm not going to do that, I just have this one fold. I can't have too many pages, so I'm just doing 6 pages, folded in half, and that will give me 24 sides, right? 1, 2, 3, 24 sides to write on. So still substantial. And now I need to trim it to size. First, I'm going to get rid of this. Okay, so you have your paper folded, and then you're just going to go in to your little thing, and we're going to leave a margin about 1/4 of an inch. And I'm going to mark myself over here as well, where I'm going to cut and cut away. Okay, perfect. The little booklet will now fit perfectly in here. Lovely. And now I need to cut the shoulders. And I'm just going to draw myself a line here where I need to cut. And then on this side, we want this shoulder to be exactly the same as this shoulder. Does that make sense? So you don't want to cut like this. If it doesn't make sense, it will when you make it. It might not even bother you. But I like to have them kind of in the same line, parallel to each other. All right, booklet ready to go. We're just going to ink those edges. And you know what? Open to the middle and ink the middle page as well. All right, time to bind. Pop it in. You need your awl. You need a needle that you don't have to look for because you put it back where it belongs. And you need some binding thread. Now you're going to spend a few agonizing minutes trying to thread the needle. Oh, I just love it. I love when I expect, oh, this is going to take me ages, and then it just goes through the first time. All right, all ready, needle ready, booklet nice and snug. We're going to pop it into the cover, and now you know what to do from here. I bet you do. Well, first, we're going to make sure it's centered. You know, we have the same amount of space on the sides. And now we're going to poke 3 holes, 1 in the middle, 1 over here somewhere at the top, and 1 over here somewhere down the bottom. Grab your needle, go in to the middle hole, go back inside, take the awl out, and go into the remaining hole, and go back in through the middle, and tighten, and tie a knot, and another knot, and a bow, or just chop. Now we want to work the pages in so that the booklet doesn't flop open to the middle every time you open it. Just kind of flatten it down a bit. Perfect. All right, here's what we have, a little booklet, and we have tuck spots, which we are now going to fill. And you can fill it to your heart's desire. I'm going to put in, it's a postcard. Now plop that in there. Oh, it can go in like this, or it can go in like this. Then I'm going to plop in another handmade tag. Probably not the best looking thing, but it's all right. It shall do. And on the other side, I'm going to do the tag and another little something and call it done. You know, we don't have to overcomplicate. I mean, you know what to do with pockets and things. You fill them with whatever you want. And there we have a finished little DIY tea bag book using 12 by 12 paper, just like I promised. Nice and easy, perhaps a little bit too much talking, or you know, but that's how it's done. That is how it's done. Gorgeous. And honestly, once you're confident with the where you have to fold and that kind of thing, it can totally be a real quick mass make system that you have going on. And then you have, before you know it, you have a whole bunch of them in all different sizes and all that fun stuff. But before we do the closing statements. I still have the other one. I don't think I'll make the others today on screen. I'll bring them back. I just want to show you all of them on the inside, what I've done, because I don't even remember myself. Here I have a booklet, that same sticker thing going on. You know, when you have your formula, you kind of stick to it because it works for you. You do what tickles your fancy. And yeah, this one is probably my favorite because it's just so gorgeous. This is the first one that I made, and this one is not a booklet, and I told you I put this paper doily there to kind of hide everything that was going on, and I just glued the paper doily just there and kind of on the sides because I didn't want the paper doily to start scrunching up. But here, instead of binding in the signature, I made an independent little booklet that can be taken out. And then the same kind of thing on the other side. I have, what do I have? Oh, what is this? What is this? It's a beautiful postcard and an envelope with a little love letter. I mean, who knows what you're gonna be making these for. Could be a love letter to your lover. No, but no one writes those anymore, do they? It's all text messaging now. Oh, I'm so glad I don't have to go through the whole dating scene in 2025. All right, this one, I don't know how did I get to this topic? Dating scene. Look at this. Oh, wait. Oh, okay. I was like, didn't I just make this? All right, look at this. How elegant and beautiful. This image was a little bit too short. And then I went in with the lace and it just fixed everything. And inside, look at this. How gorgeous and elegant with the gold and using the same stickers and the booklet and a little thing over here. Very elegant, this one, I would say. And then we have this one. I will show you something in a moment. And inside, okay, you've seen this, a booklet. It's a booklet. All right, so the bigger ones are made booklets, and I'll show you what I've done with the smaller ones. But before I do, I want to show you where this came from. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I found this for $3.25 at Salvation Army, which is a op shop or thrift store. And basically, they are all postcards, but they're actually all books. These are all book covers. Some of them, you know, more interesting than others, like this. I don't know, not that interesting, or this. But this one, pretty cool. They're all books. I think they were celebrating like 50 years of publishing or something like that. And I found this, and I have to say, I've had this in my stash way before. Oh, let's not look at that one. No. Could be children looking at this video. Look at this, how beautiful. I've had this before, well before my YouTube days, and I have been hoarding it. And if you have been watching my channel, you might have heard me say that I have made a decision to use all the pretty things, all the things that I have been hoarding. So actually, I have to say, I found 2 of these tins, and then I put them together, which is why you can see some titles repeating twice. So there's that one. All right, you might be able to maybe find it on eBay or Amazon or something. Okay, so that was a random side share. Now this is the 8x8 size. I actually didn't do anything with that one. And this is a 6x6 size. I made these last night, so I didn't actually fill them. But this one is the vellum paper one. And oh, I think you've seen this one. It's got a little booklet inside. Nothing special, but kind of a little bit special. Oh yes, this is what I wanted to show you. You've probably already seen it in the introduction, but this is 8x8, and then inside I have, oh, look at that. It's a tea. It's a tea bag. You can gift little special tea, perhaps. Maybe not this generic stuff that I have in there, but thinking about Christmas time. I mean, it is nearly Christmas in July. No, I'm joking. Please don't do this whole thing, Christmas in July thing. Okay, this, again, I have some tea bags in there, but this paper, it's like fabric paper. It is exquisite, absolutely exquisite. And I can't believe I actually used it for this project, because I have been hoarding this for eternity, probably. And had I not told myself that I shall use the pretty things, I probably would keep hoarding it for all eternity. Okay, there's that one. And honestly, you can have a whole production line going and just make a whole heap and embellish as you're using them or as you go. I'm not going to finish these today because that would just be dragging for no reason, but I have a stamp on my desk I'm eyeballing now. I think this stamped on this would look really cool. Should I do that? I'm going to do it. Probably best if you're going to use stamps to do it before everything is glued down so that you don't have like chunk, a whole lot of chunk in there. So perhaps before you glue it down so you can have an open sheet and then go ahead and stamp. But I like that stamping idea. And then you can have your little thing perhaps tucked in here or like just sitting on top somewhere. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe you can do some lace and then you can have your little thing tucked here and then you have your circle up there. All right. I'm sure you got lots of ideas. Well, I'm hoping anyway. And this tiny one, it would be nice to finish it today. What would I put in here? Maybe tiny little tags? I do have a tiny little tag folder, which I also found at a thrift store. And you know, this is all back in the day when I used to collect rather than make. You tend to amass a whole bunch of stuff that comes in handy later. You just have to make sure you don't stay in that collecting phase for too long. You probably heard me say this before, but it seems to be such a universal thing that people go through. I even have a section about it in my book. That people go through a collecting phase when they start a new hobby where they feel like they need to have all the things before they can start actually crafting. But then what can happen is you can get stuck in this purchasing and looking for things rabbit hole for a long time and never actually create. Same thing can happen with watching videos. You can watch and watch and watch and watch, but not actually make anything. So I'm hoping that today's video, the nice and easy, has inspired you to make something rather than just watch. And I'm really looking forward to hearing your thoughts about this. So please leave me a comment down below. What are your thoughts? Do you feel inspired? Have you seen these before? Have you made them before? And do you have any other ideas of things that we can use them for? I'm really looking forward to reading your comments. Thank you so very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.